Hello, today we are going to be reviewing solving equations. So an example here is whenever you have variables on both sides and you guys see that you can simplify some things to begin with, you always want to simplify first. So the first step that we did here was we took this 3 and we distributed it to everything on the inside of our parentheses. So we took 3 times 2x to get 6x. We took 3 times 2 to get 6, and then we left the minus 2, and then the right side stayed the same for now. Okay, after this, I see that I can still simplify because I have like terms on the same side of my equal sign, so I can take 6 minus 2 here, and that gave me that positive 4. And then notice how now you have variables on both sides, and both sides of your equal sign are simplified all the way. So now we can start solving for x. So your first step is to move all x's to one side. So what we did here was we moved this minus x over to one side, and when we did that, 6x minus x gave us this 5x. And then we still need to get x by itself, so now I can move my 4 to the right side, and I did that by subtracting 4. And then we got 5x equals 35. And then our last step to get x by itself was to divide by that 5 on both sides, and we got x equals 7. So again, the main thing is to always simplify before you start moving variables around to get x by itself. Okay? So we're just going to do some basic two-step equations first. So remember, whenever you're solving a two-step equation, you always want to move the number that's on the same side as the variable but not attached to it, and you're always going to be adding or subtracting first. So for example, my minus 11 is on the same side as b and it's not attached to it. So if I want to move it over to the other side, the opposite of subtracting 11 is adding 11. And we get 6b equals, and then negative 23 plus 11 gives us negative 12. And then our last step to get b by itself is to divide by that 6 on both sides, and we get b equals negative 2. Again, guys, when you are solving equations, you must show proper algebraic steps. There is no other way to do this, and you must show all of your work. So if your guys' paper does not look exactly like mine, then you're not doing this correctly. Alright, so next one. So again, I'm trying to get the variable by itself, so I need to move this number over to the other side. Since this 11 technically is a positive, I can put a plus sign here. So the opposite of adding 11 is subtracting 11. So now I'm going to be left with 3/5 z equals 27. And then if you guys remember to get rid of a fractional coefficient, all that you have to do is multiply by its reciprocal on both sides. So the reciprocal of 3/5 is 5/3. So 27 times 5/3 is going to give me 45. Okay, so you guys go ahead and pause the video and try out these two by yourself, and then when you guys are ready for the answer, go ahead and press play. Alright, so you guys should be done with these two, so let's see how you guys did. So for this one, if you're trying to get x by itself, you should have moved the 43 first, and to move it, you should have subtracted it since it was a positive. So you guys should have been left with 4 equals. Do not forget that a minus sign is truly a negative sign, so you guys should have had a negative x over 11 down here. And then to get x by itself, you need to get rid of this 11 and the negative sign, so I can say that this is a negative 11. So right now, since it's dividing, the opposite of dividing is multiplying, so I'm going to multiply by negative 11 on both sides. And you guys should have got negative 44 for your answer. Okay, and then this last one here, so to get b by itself, you guys should have subtracted the 1/2 first on both sides. And then 1/5 minus 1/2 should have been negative 3/10. And then again, to get rid of a fractional coefficient, all that you have to do is multiply by its reciprocal on both sides. And since it is negative, you want to carry on that negative with it. So you're going to multiply by negative 11/3 on both sides. So negative 11/3 times negative 3/10 is going to give you a positive 11 out of 10. Okay, so good job if you guys got those. If not, please make sure that you fix them, and then if you need extra time, go ahead and pause the video, but I'm going to move on to multi-step equations. Alright, so whenever you guys see multi-step equations, you guys are going to see a bunch of terms that need to be simplified first. So for example, over here, I see some parentheses. If I can't do anything on the inside, that's when I move to the outside. And you are going to use the distributive property and distribute this 3 to everything on the inside. So a 3 times a 2x is 6x. 3 times a negative 9 is a negative 27. And all of that's going to equal 21. Okay, now that it's in two-step equation form, I can now just solve it like we did up here. So my first step is going to be adding that 27 to both sides. So I get 6x equals 48. And my last step is to divide by that 6 on both sides. So 48 divided by 6 gives me 8. Okay, same thing over here. So I see some parentheses I need to get rid of. If I can't do anything on the inside, that's when I move to the outside, and I'm going to use my distributive property. So I get negative 10 equals, the 5 is going to stay there for now, okay? So it'll be 5 plus 5 times y is 5y, and 5 times the negative 10 is a negative 50. Now notice how this still is not simplified because I have two constants that I can combine together. I have a 5 and a negative 50. So if I were to combine those together, 5 and a negative 50 would give me a negative 45. Okay, and now since everything is simplified, I can now just solve this like normal. So my first step would be to add that 45 to both sides. And I would get negative 10 plus 45, which is 35, equals 5y. Divide both sides by 5, and you would get y equals 7. Okay, so again, you guys go ahead and take the time to pause this video and try out these two at the bottom on your own. And when you guys are ready, press play for the answer. Okay, so you guys should be done with these two, so let's see how you guys did. So first thing you guys should have done was the distributive property by taking this negative 2 times everything on the inside of our parentheses. So negative 2 times the negative 3x is a positive 6x. And then a negative 2 times a negative 1 is a positive 2. And then you still have a minus 4x equals 22. Notice how this is still not in the form that we want it in because I still have like terms on one side of my equal sign, so I need to combine 6x minus 4x to get 2x. And then now notice how it's in my basic two-step form. So first step, minus 2 from both sides. I get 2x equals 20. And then divide by 2. And you guys should have got x equals 10. Okay, and then this other one, so again, first step would have been to take that 3 times everything on the inside, so your 25 is going to stay the same. 3 times 3x is 9x, and then a 3 times 3 is 9, and then you still have a minus 5x and a minus 4. So this time you have two sets of like terms that you can combine together. You have a 9x and a negative 5x, and then you have a positive 9 and a negative 4. So if I were to combine those together, 9x minus 5x is 4x, and then 9 minus 4 gives me a positive 5. Okay, so next step would be to subtract that 5 on both sides, because now, since everything is simplified, I can start solving this like a basic two-step equation. So then I'm left with 20 equals 4x. To get x by itself, divide by 4. And so our answer comes out to be 5 equals x. Okay, so good job if you guys got that. If you did not, please go ahead and fix your answer and pause the video because I am heading on to the backside. Okay, so now we are going to start talking about solving equations with variables on both sides. So remember, when you're solving equations with variables on both sides, you need to first simplify. So see if you can simplify anything first. Then, once everything is simplified, you can start moving all x's to one side of the equal sign, all constants over on the other side, and then it's just a basic equation from there. So looking at this first example, I see nothing that I can simplify, so I can go ahead and start solving for x. So I'm going to go ahead and move all my x's to the left side of my equal sign. So to move this 6x, the opposite of a positive is a negative, so I'm just going to subtract the 6x from both sides. And that will leave me with 10x minus 6x is 4x. I can drop down my minus 5, and then I still have a negative 25 over here on the right side. Okay, so now notice how this is just a two-step equation. So next step would be to add that 5 to both sides. So I get 4x equals negative 20. And then my last step would be to divide by that 4 on both sides, so I get x equals negative 5. Okay, then moving on to this one over here, so notice how there are some things that I can simplify first. So since I can't take negative x plus 1, I'm going to take this 8 and multiply it times everything on the inside. Notice how my left side of the equal sign is going to stay the same, but my right side is now going to turn into negative 8x plus a positive 8. And notice how after I do the distributive property, everything is now simplified, so I can start moving my x's to one side and moving my constants over to the other side. So I'm going to move this negative 8x over here, so the opposite of a negative is a positive, so I'm going to add 8x to both sides. And this will leave me with 5x plus 3 equals 8. Next step would be to subtract that 3 on both sides, so I now get 5x equals 5. And then the last step would be to divide by that 5 on both sides, and we get x equals 1. Okay, so once again, go ahead and pause the video and see if you guys can do these two on your own. Make sure you guys simplify everything first before you start solving for the variable. Okay, so you guys should be done with these two, so let's see how you guys did. So looking at the left side of my equal sign, I noticed that I can simplify my negative 9 plus 4. So negative 9 plus 4 will give me a negative 5. So my left side will now be negative 5x minus 5. And then over here on the right side, guys, please remember a minus sign out in front of a number. You should have distributed a negative 3 to everything on the inside of your parentheses here. So after you guys did that, you should have got 4 minus a 3x, and then plus a negative 9 or just minus 9. Okay, then after you guys did that, notice how you can still simplify the left side of your equal sign by taking 4 minus 9 to get negative 5. And you guys would now get negative 5 minus 5 equals negative 3x minus 5. Okay, so now that everything is simplified, I can start moving all my x's to one side. So let's say I move this negative 3x over here by adding it. And negative 5x plus a 3x would be a negative 2x minus 5 equals minus 5. My next step would be to add this 5 over to the other side. So now I get negative 2x equals 0. And then our last step is to divide by that negative 2 on both sides. So you guys should have ended up with x equals 0. Okay, and then this last one, so on the left side of your equal sign, you could have used the distributive property to get -8 plus a positive 4y, and then you still have a positive 3y. And then distributive property on the right side, you should have got 3y minus a 12. And then looking at the left side of my equal sign, I can still combine my 4y and 3y to get 7y. And then you guys should have started solving. So first step should have been to move this 3y to the left side by subtracting it. So you get -8 plus a 4y equals -12. Next step would be to add this 8 to both sides. So then you're left with 4y equals a -4. And then your last step would be to divide that 4 on both sides. So -4 divided by 4 is -1. So good job if you guys got that. If you did not get it, go ahead and pause the video and fix your work. And again, guys, your guys' work should look exactly like mine. Okay, so the last part of this is, again, solving equations with variables on both sides. We talked about 3 different solutions that you guys can get when solving with variables on both sides. One of them is no solution, so that means that the left side will not equal the right side of your equal sign when solved. You could get one solution, which is what we have been doing, so that means the variable equals exactly one number when solved. And then your last one is infinitely many solutions, when the left side equals the right side when solved. Okay. So in class, I talked about if you have infinitely many solutions, that means that you have same coefficient and same constant. When you have one solution, you have different coefficients. And your constants don't matter. They can be the same or they can be different, because if they are the same, just like this one, you just end up with 0, which is still a solution. And then when you have no solution, that means that you have same coefficient and different constants. And this will help us with the bottom part. This will help us with the bottom part. Okay, so let's go ahead and start solving these and see what kind of answers we get. So again, first step is to always simplify. So I see some distributive property that I can do here. So 6 times x is 6x. 6 times the -3 is the -18. And I still have a plus 10. 2 times 3x is 6x. And 2 times -4 is -8. Looking at the left side of my equal sign, I can still combine -18 plus 10 to get me a -8. And then as soon as I get here, I can stop because I know exactly what kind of answer I'm going to get. If you guys can't tell what kind of answer you're going to get, you can keep solving. So like you can move the 6x to the left side, move the 6x. And then notice how you're going to get -8 and equals -8, which as we know is always true. So if you get same coefficient, same constant on both sides, so a 6x minus 8 is 6x minus 8, so your left side equals the right side when solved, this means that your answer is infinitely many. So you just need to indicate that it's infinitely many. Okay, then looking at this one over here, we have -8w. Then -8 times the -6 is a positive 48, and all that equals 32. So I know right away that I'm going to get one solution because I have different coefficients on both sides. So I'm just going to keep solving here. So 32 minus 48 is -16. And then to get w by itself, just divide by that -8 on both sides, and you get a positive 2. Okay, then trying out the bottom here, so 2 times 3x is 6x, 2 times a positive 5 is a positive 10, 5 times 2x is a 10x, 5 times a negative 4 is a negative 20, and then notice how I still have a minus 4x here. And then looking at the right side of my equal sign, I notice that I can combine my 10x and my negative 4x together to get 6x. So I now have 6x plus 10 equals 6x minus 20. And again, if you guys know right away looking at this statement what kind of answer you're going to get, you guys can go ahead and stop. If not, you can keep solving. So like you can move the 6x over to one side, and then notice how you're just going to get 10 equals negative 20. So notice how this is not a true statement. So if it's not a true statement, again, when you have same coefficients, different constants, this means that your answer is going to be no solution. Okay, so then the last one, so same thing, 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times a negative 4x is a negative 12x. And then negative 2 times a 6x is a negative 12x. And negative 2 times negative 9 is a positive 18. So just looking, I see that I have same coefficient, same constant. So if I have the same thing on both sides, again, this means that I'm going to have infinitely many solutions. Alright guys, and then looking at the bottom part here, you just need to write an expression that completes the equation for the given number of solutions. So if we are looking for an answer that has no solution, and I have the expression 8z minus 22, again, your characteristics of no solution means that you have same coefficient on both sides and different constants. So looking at my coefficient, on the left side it's 8. So again, to have no solution, I need to keep an 8z over here on the right side. However, I need a different constant. So I just need any number other than negative 22. So let's just say I put negative 11. So as long as you have the 8z on the right side and any other number other than negative 22, you have an expression that completes a no solution. Okay, then looking at the next one solution, your characteristic is as long as you have different coefficients on both sides, it doesn't matter what your constant is. So if I had 13 over here, I just need to make sure that my constant over here is anything other than 13. So let's say I put 12. And technically, if you just leave it as 12s, that would make a one solution statement. If you wanted to add a constant, you're more than welcome to, but you do not have to. And it can even match negative 15. Okay, the only thing that you need to indicate with one solution is that you have different coefficients. Okay, and then for infinitely many solutions, that just means whatever you have on the left side, it must be matched whatever is on the right side. So technically, you don't need to simplify this if you don't want to, because with infinitely many solutions, as long as you have the same thing on both sides, that just means that it will be infinitely many. Okay? So that is today's notes. So please let me know if you guys have any questions, and just send me a quick email. Thanks.